Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to welcome you to the 2017 Regional State of the State Address in my hometown, New York City. I'd like to recognize several of our esteemed guests in attendance. Please hold your applause until the end of the acknowledgments. Former Controller of the State of New York and Chairman of the State University Board of Trustees, the Honorable Carl McCall. Former Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable David Dinkins. Manhattan Borough President, the Honorable Gail Brewer. Bronx Borough President, the Honorable Ruben Diaz Jr. District Attorneys, the Honorable Cy Vance, the Honorable Richard Brown, and the Honorable Darcel Clark. Members of the New York City Council, members of the Governor's Administration, and our many brothers and sisters in labor, and members of the Governor's family, Sandra Lee, Michaela Kennedy Cuomo, and Madeline Cuomo. I would now like to ask His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, to join me on stage to deliver a blessing. Please rise.
Thanks, Rosanna. It's an honor to do it. Let us pray. Words from God's holy word in the Bible, the prayer of King Solomon from the Book of Wisdom. O God of our fathers and Lord of mercy, you who have made all things by your word, and in your wisdom have established us to rule the creatures produced by you, to govern in holiness and justice, and to render judgment in integrity of heart. Give us wisdom, the attendant at your throne, and reject us not from among your children. For we are your servants, people weak and short-lived, lacking in comprehension of judgment and of laws. Indeed, one might be perfect among the sons of men, but if wisdom who comes from you be not with him, he shall be held in no esteem. But with you is wisdom, who knows your works and was present when you made the world, who understands what is pleasing in your eyes and what is conformable to your commands. Send her forth now from your holy heavens, and from your glorious throne dispatch her to us, that she might be with us and work with us this year, that we might know what is your pleasure. For she knows and understands all things, and will guide us discreetly in our affairs, and safeguard us by her glory. You who live and reign forever and ever. Amen. Thanks, Rosanna.
Thank you. Now please remain standing as we welcome our color guard provided by the New York National Guard and a talented group of students from the Frank Sinatra School of the Arts to sing our national anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Private First Class Shamay Wardy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red blaze
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the great 56th Governor of the great state of New York, Andrew M. Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. First, to our great Madam Secretary of State, who's doing just a fantastic job. Let's give her a round of applause. His Eminence, thank you once again for your leadership and guidance. Cardinal O'Connor. We have our Attorney General who's doing great work with us. Eric Schneiderman, please stand. Our New York State Controller who's doing a great job, Tom DiNapoli. We have Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City. The last time I was with the mayor, we were at New Year's Eve. We did a New Year's Eve party in a subway station at the 2nd Avenue subway. Nobody had heard of it before. It went so well that the MTA is now starting a catering service. You can have a party at the 2nd Avenue subway. They're specializing in marriages, and they will time the oncoming trains so the rumble happens right after the vows. But it was a great night. Bill de Blasio, let's give him a round of applause. We have New York City Controller Scott Stringer, who's doing a magnificent job. The other local elected officials and members of our Court of Appeals and our Chief Judge, Janet DeFiore. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Well, for the past few days, we've been talking about the state of the state. To put it shortly and concisely, the positive news is that the ship of state is doing very well and is stronger than it has been in decades. There are 49 other governors in this country that give this type of report, and I wouldn't change positions with any of them. New York has truly made remarkable economic and social progress. Not since the time of FDR and Robert Moses has our government passed more impactful legislation, achieved more, or built more for the people. But at the same time, the troubling reality is the sea upon which our ship of state sails is as rough and tempest-tossed as it has been in over 50 years. Our New York credo, indeed our American credo, our progressive philosophy in providing opportunity for all and welcoming immigrants and fostering community, providing for the poor, respecting individual and religious freedom, it's all being questioned, blamed, and attacked. The generations of progress that we have made on women's rights, climate change, public education, and affordable health care are being threatened. There is a recent and powerful belief that America's diversity, openness, and acceptance is in conflict with the success of America's middle-class working families. That belief is both misguided and incredibly dangerous. It tears at our social fabric, and it threatens to turn America's strength into a weakness. Now, we all heard the roar on Election Day, and we must respond. But we cannot lose ourselves in an apparent attempt to save ourselves. We must follow two paths forward. First, to admit, acknowledge, and address the very real economic problems of our struggling middle class. And second, to prevent misdirected anger from doing damage to our country's core values. This year, we will enact a new economic program, the Middle Class Economic Recovery Act. and institute the New York Promise agenda to protect and advance our progressive values and principles of social justice that are being challenged today. To begin, New York must continue to be strong and move forward. New York has maintained a level of fiscal responsibility unknown in the post-war era. After years of spending more than we took in, we have finally done what every family in the state of New York has had to do. We set a budget and we kept to it. Our annual spending increases are lower than at any time since they've been keeping budget numbers. Our credit rating is as high as it has been in 60 years. Our unemployment is down from 8.4% 6 years ago to 5.1% today. And the good news is our economic success is felt all across the state. Today, New York has 7.95 private sector jobs, the most private sector jobs in the history of the state of New York. And I would like to thank the state controller for his good work in helping us maintain the fiscal integrity and responsibility of this state. Thank you, Mr. Controller. The state's increase in spending is down because we are governing smarter. We cut the waste and we prioritized better. We have invested more in education than at any time in history, and more than any state in the nation. SUNY, CUNY, the Master Teacher Program, and our statewide universal pre-K program. And I'm proud to announce that this year, we will increase funding for education to a new record level, all-time high all across the state, and that New York City will receive more aid for education than it has ever received from the state of New York in history. And we are building a new New York, from Montauk Point to Niagara Falls, from the Long Island Railroad to Penn Station to LaGuardia Airport, from the Kosciuszko Bridge to the Queens Midtown Tunnel, from the 2nd Avenue Subway to the Javits Center, from our Harbor of Lights Bridges project to our new Jones Beach. We're not just starting projects, but we are getting them done. And that's government's responsibility, and we are performing for the people of the state of New York. And what makes our economic progress even sweeter is that it is matched by unprecedented social progress. At the same time we did all our economic work and our infrastructure work, we passed marriage equality, we passed paid family leave, we passed common sense gun control, we passed a $15 minimum wage. New York, once again, is truly the progressive capital of the nation. E.B. White, my friends, would be pleased. The nation once again looks to New York to find the way up. I am proud of the work we have done and how far New York has come over the last 6 years. But this is not the time for self-congratulation. It is the time to prepare for the future, because we will not stop working until the bright light of opportunity shines on all New Yorkers. We still have 2 educational systems in this state, one for the rich and one for the poor, separate and unequal, and that, my friends, is simply intolerable in 2017. We still have a judicial system that is supposed to be blind, but that all too often finds the scales of justice tipped by resources or race. We still have an electoral system that protects the prerogatives of politicians at the expense of voters. Our country's economic transformation has made a handful rich and masses redundant. Our people still lack trust in government, and for good cause. and I believe and understand that the government must do more to earn the people's trust. Our safety net is tattered, and we have record numbers of homeless on our streets. Our jails have become the mental health system of last resort, and acts of discrimination, hate crimes, and racism are on the rise. Most pervasive, our middle class is hurting and angry at their lack of progress. In terms of real wages, the earning potential of working families is less than it was 20 years ago. They are paying the bills, but they are lacking security. Our middle class feels abused. They were collateral damage in the economic shift from the manufacturing economy to the high-tech economy, and they feel that their government did nothing to help. In the recession of 2007, the middle class saw their hard-earned equity in their homes stolen. Nearly half the homes of our middle class are not yet back to their pre-recession value. Just think of it. That home equity was their life's work. It was their security blanket, the payment for their daughter's wedding. It was their business loan and their child's college tuition. It was taken through no fault of their own, but they never got it back, and no one ever went to jail, and justice was never done, and that is not the American way. The dream that their children is going to have a better life seems more and more elusive as the cost of college and housing goes up and up. Student debt now surpasses credit card debt and consumer debt, and more college graduates are living at home than in decades. Now, we can quote economic recovery numbers all day long. It is not their reality. Talk to the people from my home county of Queens. Go to the gas station on Hillside Avenue where I worked, the pizzeria where we hung out. It's not what they feel. It is not their reality. And this opposition and this conflict is what is causing the rough waters we see and feel all around us. We understand the anger, and we will address it. Today, I am proposing a Middle-Class Recovery Act. It has three components: jobs and infrastructure, access to education, and lower taxes. Our top objective is to keep growing and attracting jobs to New York, especially middle-class jobs. We must continue our investment in building the infrastructure that will support 21st century economies. New York has lived off its inheritance for too long. We must build for tomorrow, or other states and countries will continue to pass us by. Mass transit will enable our sustained growth. This year, we will build a faster and better subway system with 1,200 new cars, dozens of rehabbed and modernized subway stations, and 20 rebuilt commuter stops. And let's give Tom Prendergast, chairman of the MTA, a big round of applause for the good work that he's doing. Please stand, Tom. We are building a new LaGuardia, and last week we announced a $10 billion plan for a new John F. Kennedy Airport. We'll be announcing other important infrastructure projects statewide this week. At the same time, we must be ever mindful of the present threat of terrorism, especially in New York City. Our success breeds envy, and envy makes us a target. So when we build, we will be implementing new anti-terrorism prevention measures, increased police presence at our bridges, tunnels, and airports, new electronic security and tolling equipment that will read license plates, both to move traffic faster, but also afford police a new effective law enforcement tool they've never had before. And we must continue to invest in the industries of tomorrow. In this state, with all our diversity, there is no one-size-fits-all. So we work region by region in developing economies. In Buffalo, our medical research industry is growing in combination with the UB Medical School. In Rochester, the engineering legacy of Kodak, Xerox, and Bausch & Lomb is birthing the photonics industry. Our REDCs are doing great, great work. And I propose another $750 million in economic developments to keep the growth coming and the jobs being delivered. Today, I'm excited to announce we are going to invest $650 million to help fuel the new life sciences economy, starting right here in New York City. We are partnering with Johnson & Johnson and the Genome Center to advance cutting-edge genetic research that will save lives and create jobs, and New York is the place to do it. We will also work to strengthen our outer boroughs, as I am a native outer borough boy, as you can tell from my accent. We will invest in the Kingsbridge Armory and Orchard Beach for more desperately needed urban recreation opportunities. And we will invest $50 million in Montefiore Hospital to preserve affordable health care. We will offer residents of Staten Island permanent Verrazano toll reductions and make their Institute for Behavioral Research part of the CUNY system. Queens will see 2 new airports, a new JFK, and a new LaGuardia, because I'm from Queens. And we want to make Brooklyn a new model for healthcare, incorporating prevention strategies into lifestyle and community development. Better food and diets with green markets offering New York certified organic products from farms and businesses in New York. We will be building more recreation facilities, more community-based clinics, and we will make Brooklyn a model for wellness. We have an exciting opportunity to attract jobs because the economic cycle has turned. Many corporations that went overseas for cheap labor have learned a very important lesson. They learned that sometimes you get what you paid for, and they're coming back to the US, and we want them back in New York. The key to the jobs of tomorrow is having an education. Advanced manufacturing requires skills and an education. The truth is that automation has taken American jobs far more than any immigrant has taken American jobs. But these economic changes have always been happening. During the Industrial Revolution, textile workers protested that machines and steam engines would destroy their livelihoods. In 1928, a New York Times headline proclaimed, "March of Machines makes idle hands." In 1961, President Kennedy declared the major domestic challenge of the 1960s was to maintain full employment when automation is replacing men. We have been through this before. Technology takes jobs, but then it creates more jobs than it destroys. Who gets them? People with an education get them. And at this time in history, as leaders of this state, it is our mission to lead the way and prepare our people for those jobs and bring those jobs back home to New York. And that's why in this session, I am proposing tuition-free college at SUNY and CUNY and our community colleges for students and families up to $125,000. That's 80% of our people, 1 million families. It will change lives, and it will restore hope for thousands of children who never believed they could make it to college. This program, go ahead, Michaela. That's only because you're my daughter. This program is a statement of New York values. Education should be a right, not a privilege. It shouldn't be about your income or your zip code or your ethnicity. And that's why I also propose the DREAM Act to help make all our children's dreams come true. To further level the playing field, we will offer additional help to children in schools with poor districts. In 2017, my friends, the P word, poverty, is still a challenge we must address. We are proud that we pioneered our statewide pre-K, the first in the nation, but we need more. Today, we are announcing a new pilot after-school program that will target New York City and other cities in the state with our poorest communities. It will provide extended school hours for after-school mentoring, tutoring, and recreation, all in a safe environment. Creating a state that is economically competitive means keeping regulation sensible, the government entrepreneurial, and most importantly, taxes competitive. This year, I will propose that we provide additional relief to working and middle-class families with a middle-class child care tax credit. The average annual child care cost for two is $25,000 per year. This year, we will double the child tax credit to help reduce the child care costs for more than 200,000 hard-working New York families, and that will make a real difference in the way people live. I believe these measures will help alleviate the middle-class anger. People-focused energy generated by that anger, and when they focus that energy and they do it in a positive way, it can be a great force for reform. But misdirected, that anger can be destructive. It can scapegoat and it can demonize. It can spread fear of those who are different. And it can destroy the uniquely American values and progressive principles that are the foundation of this society. The number of hate crimes that has erupted recently in New York is disturbing. The KKK flyers, swastikas, white supremacists, and anti-Semitic rants happening all across the state. It is disgusting, and it is ignorant, and it is anti-American. Because as we know in New York better than anywhere, we are all immigrants, unless you're a Native American. We all come from different places. And we not only coexist in America, we cooperate and we work together and we forge community. That is what makes this nation unique on the globe. We share benefits and we share burdens without discrimination or judgment. That is the American promise, and that is the New York legacy. New York knows that our progressive principles of acceptance and diversity are not the enemy of our middle class, and we know that the middle class success is not the enemy of our progressive beliefs. In fact, it was the progressive policies that created the nation's middle class in the first place. President Roosevelt put people back to work while he regulated banks, while he established a minimum wage, while he created labor rights that built labor unions, Social Security, and built-in infrastructure, all at the same time. The answer for people who believe they are not getting a big enough piece of the American pie is not to try to take the piece of pie from your neighbor. It is not to fight for the scraps left by the rich. The answer is to grow the pie for all. And that's what we have to do. And if this is going to be a debate in this nation, which way to go forward, you have heard our philosophy. And if it is a debate, then we stand with Abraham Lincoln, who said, and I quote, "America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves." We stand with Mario Cuomo, who said, "Some people believe that the wagon train will not make it to the frontier unless some of the old, some of the young, some of the weak are left behind by the side of the trail." We believe in something else. We believe that we can make it all the way with the whole family intact. At these stormy times of instability and confusion, let the great state of New York serve as a safe harbor for our progressive principles and social justice that made America. We will hold the torch high to light the way. That is New York's promise, and it is unequivocal. And this promise is not just in words, it will be in actions. We will protect the social progress that we have made, and we will push even harder. Our New York promise starts with a public-private sector partnership with law firms so every new immigrant is protected with legal representation, even if they cannot afford it. Next, we will expand the indigent legal services for criminal defendants to honor the constitutional promise of Gideon versus Wainwright. We will be the state of law and order, but also the state of compassion and common sense. We will work to improve the justice system and end racial and resource inequities. We will propose groundbreaking reforms. We will videotape interrogations, improve fairness in lineups, and raise the age of criminal liability from 16 to 18. We will reform our bail system to weigh the public safety risk posed by an individual, because we accomplish absolutely nothing locking up people for years who pose no threat to the public, who even haven't had the right to a trial. We will honor the promise of a speedy trial because Rikers Island is an insult to Lady Justice. I want to thank our great Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, Janet DiFiore, and the members of the Court of Appeals. Please stand. Thank you for the guidance and advice on these reforms. The New York promise continues because we believe individual health is public health, and quality, affordable health care is a human right. We will not go back to a place where nearly 3 million New Yorkers are uninsured, or Medicaid is decimated, or our world-class New York health care system is dismantled. We will not allow that to happen in the state of New York. And we're going to work with 1199 and the Greater New York Hospital Association to make sure that doesn't happen. We will protect our environment because we believe in the Native American proverb that said we did not inherit the land from our parents, but we are borrowing it from our children. We will invest a record amount in our Environmental Protection Fund, develop offshore wind power, and lower the RGGI emission caps by 30% by the year 2030. And we will take bold steps to make us safer. New York City sits 30 miles from a ticking time bomb, the Indian Point nuclear power plant. Nuclear power can be a useful bridge as we transition to renewables, there is no doubt. But Indian Point is located in the most densely populated area of our state and in the most densely populated area on the globe. There is no other nuclear power plant closer to as densely a populated area. God forbid there's an accident. Evacuation of this region would be all but impossible. I've been there many times to the plant to review operational issues, and there have been many operational issues. I've personally been trying to close it down for 15 years. Finally, this year, I'm proud to announce that we have an agreement. Indian Point will close in 4 years, 14 years ahead of schedule. It will close at no cost to the state. Our plan identifies sources of replacement power and transitions workers to new jobs. This agreement eliminates a major risk, provides welcome relief. New Yorkers can sleep a little better. I want to thank our New York State Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, who really did great work on this matter. Please, Eric, stand so we can acknowledge you. I'd also like to ask Richard Kaufman and Jim Malatras to stand, who did great work on my team. We will improve our democratic processes, and we will propose early voting and automatic voter registration because we should do everything we can to actually get people to vote. We will advance women's rights and equal pay by adopting salary history-blind hiring practices and requiring all state contractors to report employees' gender and pay. And make no mistake, New York will always stand up and stand tall and stand firm to protect a woman's right to choose. We will fight the scourge of homelessness. Last year, we made an historic $20 billion commitment to fight pervasive homelessness and the affordable housing shortage. The money is there, the largest state commitment in history, $20 billion. 4 months ago, I signed a memorandum of understanding to release the funds. Neither the Assembly nor the Senate have agreed to move the funds forward. Today, I call on them to advance this historic plan. Initiated in 2016, it provides 100,000 units of affordable housing across the state and 6,000 units of supportive housing, primarily in New York City. We need it now, we need it in the winter, we need it in the cold. It is time for the state legislature to act. We will enforce our anti-discrimination and our hate crime laws in every instance of prejudice. I am proposing a new state police and Department of Human Rights Education and Enforcement task force because hate and discrimination have no home in New York and no infraction will be tolerated, period. We will also come together as New Yorkers under Cardinal Dolan's efforts to organize interfaith religious leaders and congregations to share and educate New Yorkers about the commonalities in our different faiths, because religious freedom and individual liberty are New York hallmarks, and we need to focus on religious commonalities and similar foundations as opposed to artificial distinctions. We're pleased that the Cardinal will be leading that effort. Thank you, Your Eminence. Please stand. Let's give Your Eminence In closing, my friends, yes, we have challenges. It is a challenging time, but we have been challenged before. We've been challenged time and time again. And if there's one thing New York knows, we know how to get up after we've been knocked down, and we know how to face a challenge. It is who we are in our essence. We will calm the waters, we will stop the opposing currents, and we will align the energy of both. And when all are headed in the same direction, that will create a current that is so strong, it pulls all forward. Because as New Yorkers living in this great state of diversity, we know inherently that anger one against the other never works. And the only thing that works is engendering a spirit where we help one another. We today gather at the site of 9/11 that made this statement so clear. It is the site where you saw the greatest hatred and the greatest cowardice and the greatest anger in the attack, but it is also the site where you saw the greatest response, which was love and reaching out and understanding and people coming together and not seeing differences, but seeing souls and character and fellow human beings and seeing Americans. And we saw that unity is undefeatable. And people came from not just all over the state. They came from all across the country. They came from all across the world. And they said, we're not New Yorkers, but we're here to help because we're human beings. And when we are at our best, we don't focus on the difference and the disparity. We focus on the humanity and the commonality. That's what this is all about. In New York, we know it. Why? Because New York was the stepping off place for America. It is the laboratory of the American experiment in democracy. It is 18 million people from all across the world. And if you want to start to point fingers at people who are different, you're going to be pointing fingers all day long. And there was only one strategy to make this place work, which was to come together and see the humanity and cooperate and understand that this is about putting people together and not pulling people apart. It's not about upstate or downstate. It's upstate and downstate. It's not Democrat or Republican. It's Democrat and Republican. It's not Christian or Muslim or Jew. It's Christian and Muslim and Jew. It's old immigrant and it's new immigrant. It's rich and middle class and poor, and it's black and white and brown, and it's forging community from that group and that alliance. And that is New York. That is what we do. Our founding fathers said it all in 3 words. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. That was the founding premise of the nation. And that is the enduring promise of the nation. That is a lesson that lives in this state. And our people need to know today that yes, the winds are strong, and yes, the seas are rough, and yes, our principles are being challenged. But New York will show this nation once again how to heed our better angels, and that the greatest success is shared success, and that we build the brightest future together. Excelsior, and God bless you.